Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Honolulu and the 29th Annual Conference of the Society for Industrial and Organizational Psychology. Now please welcome Conference Chair, Dr. Robin Cohen.
Aloha SIOP! Let's try that one more time. Aloha SIOP! That was better. I'm not really sure that any other conference chair thought they would ever be able to say those words. Who's happy to be here in Hawaii? So my name is Robin Cohen, and I've had the honor of being your conference chair, and I'm here to welcome you to the 29th Annual Conference for the Society for Industrial and Organizational Psychology. We have an incredible program in store for you over the next couple of days. During today's plenary session, we will recognize top achievers in the field of IO psychology, recognize our newest SIOP fellows, and hear the much-anticipated presidential address of Tammy Allen. I'm also looking forward to Jose's introduction of Tammy Allen. That should be a real treat. If this is your first conference, I would like to extend a very warm welcome. We're thrilled to have you here, and I'm sure that this will be the first of many SIOP conferences to come. At the end of this morning's program, I'll draw your attention to some of the key highlights of the conference. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce David Baker, Awards Chair.
Aloha, everyone. I am removing the Robin Cohen, Tammy Allen platform. So thank you, Robin. Before we begin, first of all, I'd like to thank all the awards subcommittee chairs and subcommittee members. If they could stand and be recognized. Please stand up. I hope some of you are here. For those of you who don't know it, there are many, many awards, grants, and fellowships, and it takes a very large committee to put this together, and I really appreciate all the help and assistance from the SIOP membership to make this happen. We have a number of award winners that we are honoring at this conference, and at this time, I'd like to recognize those who received their awards at yesterday afternoon's Foundation's dessert reception. If you could please direct your attention to the screen so we can recognize those winners.
We want to recognize the following top achievers who were presented their awards at a special ceremony yesterday. And now, please recognize SIOP Awards Chair, Dr. David Baker.
Thank you. That was a wonderful tribute to everybody yesterday who received an award. And now on to the awards we'll be presenting this morning. Just a note, we will be having our award winners come up. They will pose if they receive a plaque with our one plaque that we have here today, because we'll be mailing them all their plaques to avoid baggage charges on the way back. So the first award I'd like to start out with is the S. Raines Wallace Dissertation Research Award, which is given in recognition of the best doctoral dissertation research in the field of IO psychology. The winning dissertation should demonstrate the use of research methods that are both rigorous and creative. This year, SIOP is presenting 2 awards. The first goes to Crystal Farr of Michigan State University for her dissertation entitled Leading Well Over Time, Temporal Contingencies of Leadership Impact in Dynamic Team Contexts. Crystal, could you please come forward? The second goes to Allison Gabriel of Virginia Commonwealth University for her dissertation entitled Emotion Regulation Within a Performance Episode, Consumers' Influence on Employee Emotion Regulation Trajectories and Performance. Allison? Now we will present the winners of the Distinguished Early Career Contributions Awards. This year we have 1 winner for science and 2 for practice. These awards are presented to individuals who have made distinguished contributions to the science or practice of IO psychology, for science within 7 years of their degree, for practice within 10 years of their degree. The recipient of each award will also be invited to give an address at next year's SIOP conference. This year's winner in science is Brent Scott of Michigan State University. Just so you know, Dr. Scott is an associate professor of management and has compiled a remarkable record of scholarship, including 26 referee journal articles, and his work has been cited over 900 times. Brent? One of the 2 winners of a Distinguished Early Career Contributions Award in practice is Tracy M. Kantrowitz of CEB SHL. Since earning her doctorate from Georgia Tech, she has had an enormous impact on the field of IO psychology through major scientific advancements, impactful scholarly publications, and mentoring and managing other science practitioners. Her work has resulted in the creation of assessment projects and services implemented by some of the largest organizations in the world. She is currently the Vice President of Research and Development for CEB. Congratulations, Tracy. Our next winner in practice is Rich Kober of Marriott International. Since earning his doctorate from the University of Akron, Rich has played the roles of teacher, researcher, management consultant, internal consultant, center of expertise leader, and now serves in the capacity of an HR executive with Marriott International. His career to this point has focused on leveraging the best of science and practice and has enabled Marriott to significantly elevate the rigor of applicant screening at a global level and impacts millions of job seekers. Unfortunately, Rich is unable to be with us here today, but let's give him a round of applause anyway. The Distinguished Teaching Contributions Award is presented in recognition of SIOP members who demonstrate a sustained record of excellence in teaching, as revealed by excellence in the classroom or via web-based teaching, student development, and community service via teaching. This year's recipient is Anne Marie Ryan of Michigan State University. A truly great teacher is highly admired and respected for the ways he or she has positively influenced the lives of their students. Dr. Ryan is one of those teachers. A tireless advocate for students, her classes contained a blend of research and practice, both theory and application, that for more than 20 years have challenged and brought out the best in students. Under her guidance, a deeply appreciative cohort of students have developed and sharpened their abilities to think, design, and collect and analyze data, all important attributes of IO psychologists. Anne-Marie couldn't be here with us today. I believe her daughter is graduating from high school or college, I'm not sure which, but please let's give her one last round of applause. The Distinguished Service Contributions Award is presented in recognition of sustained, significant, and outstanding service to SIOP. Service contributions can be made in a variety of ways, which include but are not limited to, by the way, from my perspective, serving on one of the awards committees if you need an opportunity to contribute to SIOP, or leading one of those, an elected officer, chair of a standing or ad hoc committee to the Society, formal representative of the Society to other organizations. Again, this year we have two winners. The first recipient is Kurt Krager from Colorado State University. I am sure you are all familiar with Dr. Krager's outstanding record of service to SIOP, including a term as president in 2009 to 2010. Perhaps his most significant contribution was updating SIOP's governance. He chaired the task force that successfully planned and implemented the present portfolio system of elected officers, the most significant change in the way SIOP governs itself since its incorporation in 1982. Congratulations, Kurt. Our second Distinguished Service Contribution Award goes to John C. Scott of Atmetrics, Inc. Extraordinary commitment over the years across a broad range of time-intensive and critical assignments to significantly advance SIOP's mission and goals, as well as IO psychology, is how one colleague described Dr. Scott's service to SIOP. One of his major contributions was serving as program chair for the 2009 conference in New Orleans, where he was instrumental in designing and implementing program changes as SIOP moved to a three-day event. John, please come forward, and congratulations. The Distinguished Professional Contributions Award is given to an individual who has developed, refined, and implemented practices, procedures, and methods that have had a major impact on both people and organizational settings and the profession of IO psychology. The contributions of the individual should have advanced the profession by increasing the effectiveness of IO psychologists working in business, industry, government, or other organizational settings. This year's winner is Jack Wiley of Jack Wiley Consulting. As all of you probably know, Dr. Wiley is one of our profession's most foremost practitioners and leading authorities on utilizing employee surveys for organizational improvement. In a career spanning more than 3 decades, he has worked with scores of large-scale client organizations worldwide and shared his innovative approaches through articles, books, and SIOP workshops. Jack, please come forward, and congratulations. I think you already did that. That's okay. Okay. The Distinguished Scientific Contributions Award is presented in recognition of outstanding contributions to the science of IO psychology. This award is given to the individual or individuals who have made the most distinguished empirical and theoretical scientific contributions in our field. This year's recipient is Larry James of Georgia Tech University, or the Georgia Institute of Technology. Dr. James is widely known for his work in three primary areas: organizational climate research, statistics, and measurement of personality via conditional reasoning. His statistical research has significantly improved the quality of organizational research, and his work in organizational climate has been highly influential in convincing the research community that it was an important construct independent of other constructs of interest to organizational scientists. Jack, please come forward and congratulations. I mean, Larry, sorry. My apologies to Dr. James. As you can imagine, I have 9 minutes and a lot of script, so. But I've come to my conclusion. So let's have a nice round of applause for all our award winners, scholarship honorees, and grant recipients. So now I'd like to turn over the proceedings to Jerry Hedge, the Fellowship Committee Chair.
Thanks, David. Good morning. Society Fellows are distinguished industrial and organizational psychologists who have made an unusual and outstanding contribution to the field. Each year, it's a difficult task to select honorees. And so before going any further, I'd like to recognize each of the members of the Fellowship Committee for their hard work. Would all of you please stand? This year, we recognize 24 outstanding IO psychologists as SIOP Fellows. And let's go ahead and meet them now, the 2014 class of Fellows.
Well known for her scholarship and service to IO, Dr. Joyce E. Bono's contributions fall within the broad domains of leadership, employee wellness, and individual differences. Her research in the leadership arena shows how leaders' characteristics influence employees' daily experiences, motivation, behaviors, attitudes, and well-being. Her work on core self-evaluation is considered a particularly important advance in personality research. Dr. Margaret E. Beyer has made significant contributions through her research on training, in which she has shed light on the cognitive, non-cognitive, and contextual factors that influence training outcomes. In particular, how age impacts motivation and performance in training. She has also examined the importance of active learning, with a special focus on older adults. Dr. Douglas J. Brown's research on leadership processes is widely recognized. His work has been an important influence in developing the understanding of the role of self and identity in leadership. This has taken on great significance with recent focus on follower identity self-conception as mediator and moderator of leadership influences. Dr. Michael Buckley has produced a sustained program of research in which he has informed theory and practice in the areas of human resources staffing and performance management. As an alternative to realistic job previews, he proposed the Expectation Lowering Procedure, ELP, which has been supported in subsequent research as an effective recruitment and socialization tool. Dr. Paula Caligiuri has developed an international reputation for an impressive body of work on issues dealing with managing an international workforce. In particular, selection, socialization, and assessment of expatriates. Her 2000 Personnel Psychology article on the Big Five personality characteristics as predictors of expatriate success is considered a landmark piece of research. Dr. Lilia M. Cortina researches the psychology of victimization, investigating ways in which people are subordinated, violated, and relegated to the margins of organizational life. Her research on workplace incivility and sexual harassment is cutting-edge, programmatic, and highly influential in multiple fields. Her findings have been disseminated widely in major media outlets. Dr. Michelle A. Donovan is an outstanding exemplar of a scientist practitioner. She has made significant contributions to the study of management and leader development, most notably through her work on Google's Project Oxygen, which introduced a generation of managers to well-defined performance expectations, a new vocabulary for discussing management challenges, and a framework for manager development programs. Dr. Lisa Finkelstein's work in aging and mentoring has been most noteworthy. Her research in age discrimination and workplace bias is carefully grounded in social psychological theorizing about the development and activation of stereotypes. Using this as a base, her work delineates the work conditions, person characteristics, and psychological processes by which age bias manifests in the workplace. Dr. Robert E. Gibby embodies the essence of the scientist-practitioner model. He led Procter & Gamble's cognitive assessment program, including an online, unproctored adaptive reasoning test. Deployed in 28 languages for recruiting and selection in 70 different countries, it has been a standout achievement. Some 300,000 people are screened each year using this selection process. Dr. Stanley M. Gully has established a reputation for research emphasizing the interface between training and individual differences. He has developed and tested theoretical models that integrate personal and situational factors that promote different types of self-regulatory processes and learning. He has also generated a strong body of research on leadership and team effectiveness.
I reject the null.
Dr. Verlin B. Hintz is recognized for his influential contributions to the study of work teams and groups. He played a key role in research that provided an information processing framework by which researchers could effectively conceptualize and study cognitive processes in teams. This shapes much of what we know about shared mental models and information sharing within work teams. Dr. Bradley L. Kirkman is known for his scholarship in three primary areas: teamwork, team effectiveness, leadership, and cross-cultural management. His work has been especially distinctive in clarifying the process through which teams are effective in organizations, particularly virtual teams, which are becoming more prevalent. He has shown how team empowerment is a critical factor in the success of work teams. Dr. Martin Kleinman has been instrumental in advancing IO psychology in Germany and internationally. Much of his scholarship is focused on traditional selection. His unique contribution to the field is the concept of ability to identify criteria, or ATIC, which helps to explain test takers' level of performance and their ability to understand which KSAs are being accessed. Dr. Nathan R. Kunsel is a leader in the measurement of individual differences relevant to the prediction of outcomes associated with academics, employment, relationships, and other life situations. His work documents the predictive power of cognitive tests used for postgraduate and professional school admission in a more comprehensive fashion than prior work. Dr. Adam W. Mead's influence is most apparent in his research addressing methodological and measurement issues. His work has impacted both research and practice. He is best known for work in measurement invariance, which investigates methods and statistical techniques to assess if a psychological test or measure functions similarly over time and over different groups of respondents and testing formats. A true exemplar of the scientist practitioner, Dr. Rose A. Mueller-Hansen has made outstanding contributions in the areas of adaptability, transformation of leader development processes, and development of effective performance management skills. Her work in adaptability and training simulations has been successfully implemented and used with thousands of soldiers and civilians. A leader in the field of job design research, Dr. Sharon K. Parker is the author of an influential book in which she proposed enhancing the job characteristics model, extending beyond the 5 characteristics, as well as expanding mediators, outcomes, and moderators. She has also contributed greatly to the increasingly prevalent research on proactivity. Dr. Cheryl J. Paulin has made outstanding contributions to the practice of IO psychology through developing and validating psychological assessments for a wide variety of clients. Her solutions are consistently evidence-based, cutting-edge, and innovative, often taking advantage of computerized virtual environments, web-based situational judgment tests, logic-based measurement, and IRT-based CAT. Dr. Tahira M. Probst's work on economic stressors and their effects has had a profound impact on IO psychology. Through her work with more than 100 organizations from numerous industries, she is well known for showing the effects of job insecurity and economic stress, not only on job attitudes, but also on employee behavior, health, and injury outcomes. Dr. Douglas H. Reynolds has made outstanding science-based contributions to practice and has enriched SIOP through his many influential service contributions. In terms of practice, Dr. Reynolds has developed empirically based practitioner interventions with wide applications. He has developed and championed innovations in technology and testing and assessment methods for numerous national and multinational organizations. Dr. John Shawbrook's impact has been most profound in his research on work stress and leader influences on the welfare, ethical behavior, and performance of employees. His work regarding the nuances of demands and control and their interaction with self-efficacy, attributional style, and social support was a precursor to the job demands resources perspective on worker well-being. Dr. Robert R. Sinclair is acknowledged for his research contributions to the field, particularly in the area of occupational health psychology. His work in examining unique occupational health issues for certain occupations is particularly noteworthy, including his research on psychological resilience in the military, nurses' positive and negative work experiences, and entry-level hourly workers' employment relationships. Recognized for his scholarly contributions in both psychometrics and personality, Dr. Stephen Stark has developed innovative IRT-based methods for non-cognitive testing involving force-choice formats, which are designed to reduce response distortions such as rater errors and faking. His models and computerized adaptive testing algorithms provide a basis for assessments used by the U.S. military. Dr. Deborah L. Wetzel's outstanding contributions include key leadership roles in a major transportation security agency job analysis project involving 50,000 workers, as well as a model development and instrumentation project for the U.S. Postal Service designed for selection, performance measurement, and training. Her contributions have had broad national impact, affecting hundreds of thousands of workers in multiple sectors.
great group indeed. I encourage you all to read in the SIOP Salutes brochure in much greater detail about the contributions of this new class. So let's all give a final round of applause to our new fellows.
Aloha! Welcome to report from the SIOP Foundation. It is my delight to talk about the foundation. Since 1996, the foundation has been building for the future of SIOP. The trustees of the foundation and I are so glad to have your support. Dues renewal will be coming up shortly. Please just check off a few dollars to add to the kitty here. Our foundation has been growing very nicely. So up to date, we have awarded $516,000 to some 365 individuals and groups that have won these. This past year, we launched the HRM Impact Awards. I'll say more about that in a moment. We are planning now for the Generat Conference, which will be about assessing leaders of leaders. This will be coming to you in 2016. We received a major bequest of $100,000. Please add the SIOP Foundation to your will. And we have total assets now of over $3 million. This is from a $25,000 start. So we have been working hard to try to build for the future. I mentioned the HRM Impact Awards. This is a joint collaboration between SIOP, SHRM, and its 270,000 members worldwide. One of our principal audiences for evidence-based practice, then the SIOP Foundation and the SHRM Foundation. There were 4 winners announced last fall. The call for nominations has ended for this year. There will be another group of winners announced in September. And so Frito-Lay, Procter & Gamble, Bureau of Alcohol, Firearms, Tobacco, and the North Shore Long Island Jewish Health Systems won 4 excellent examples of evidence-based practice, our science being used at work. I mentioned the Generat Conference. There is a planning committee underway. Mort MacPhail is the chair. You see the other members of the planning committee. Assessing leaders of leaders, looking for what are the big questions that need to be addressed in the near future meaning the next 5 years. How can we make substantial advances not only in the practice but also in understanding the context in which this takes place? Private sector, government sector, NGOs, wherever. So please contact these people with your ideas or questions about what might be in that conference. I mentioned a major bequest. Barbara Owens passed away just a little over a year ago. Bill Owens, her husband, is someone that many of us knew. He was a fine, fine gentleman, an exemplary researcher. Late in his career, he directed an institute at the University of Georgia. The Owenses wanted to give some money, some small amount of money that would advance our field, applied psychology, industrial and organizational psychology. It was a $25,000 contribution which led to the creation of the SIOP Foundation. In Barbara's will, there was an additional bequest that came to the foundation this past year of an additional $100,000. Only 20% of Americans have a will. Please get one written, and again, include the SIOP Foundation in building for the future. This year, we are announcing the call for the Dennett Prize. This was a major fundraising activity begun back in 2006, 2007. Like the Nobel Prizes, the Dennett Prize will be to recognize lifetime contributions of a living individual, also to honor fundamental advances. It will be awarded for work that has led to development or application that has expanded the knowledge of the causal significance of individual differences on performance and effectiveness in organizations. There are many people in this audience who are related to Marv in some way or another, so I was one of his students. And at this point, I would like everyone who was a student of Marv's, a co-author of Marv's, or a donor to the Dannett Prize Fund of the Foundation to please stand. Hold on. Also, there are many of the students of Marv's students, and the students of their students, and the students of their students, the generational. So please add to the family tree, stand up. And now finally, anyone who ever read anything that Marv wrote. This is a good time for a stretch, so everyone up. So the call for nominations will be coming out about June 15th on the website. We will also put it in the SIOP news bulletin and so on. SIOP membership is not a requirement for the recipient of the award. And so because this is fundamental advances, and even sometimes people that aren't in the mainstream of a field sneak in, like Daniel Kahneman got the Nobel Prize in economics. So think broadly about who has written and informed us on a scientific basis about the causal significance of individual differences, and then please nominate. The nominator will provide a minimum of 3 but no more than 5 letters of recommendation. The prize recognizes lasting contributions, programmatic and significant. The call will close on September 30th, and then the prize will be awarded in Philadelphia at the next SIOP, and the award winner will be asked to give an invited address as well. And so please think about nominees now and make sure that you inform the evaluation and the judging committee about this. This is a big award. We hope to add to that endowment, or all of the endowments as we go along, but be sure to be in Philadelphia next year as well. The SIOP Foundation has been about building for the future, and in that regard, the trustees have set as a goal that we want to be distributing $1 million in funding by the year 2020. We've gotten to $500,000 in the first 18 years of the foundation. We want to accelerate this. We look forward to your contributions, your support. Thank you so very much for your support for the foundation.
SIOP. Sup? Yeah, good. My name is Jose Cortina, and it's been my privilege to serve as your president-elect for the last year. President-elect carries with it many responsibilities, none greater than introducing the SIOP president. Thank you to my partners. Oh, there's the president, by the way. Thank you to my partners in crime for helping me assemble evidence. Wenmo Kong, Kim French, Soner Damani, and Keaton Fletcher, who wish it to be known that this introduction is not their fault. Those who have attended these introductions in the past know that there's a certain format, and I, being an obsessive rule follower, had every intention of adhering to it. The format involves what are known as the 3 E's, effusive praise, embarrassing photos, and am roasting the hell out of them. Unfortunately, I ran into complications before I could even get started. I've known Tammy for many years, but it had never occurred to me that Tammy is a nickname for, I didn't know what. She goes by Tammy, but what's it short for? Not wanting to involve Tammy, I asked her students and colleagues to help me out, and this is what they said.
Short. You know the phrase, the best things come in small packages? It's Tammy.
4'11" of pure badass.
Short, but that doesn't really tell anything about the extraordinary abilities.
I don't know if you guys know that laundry detergent by All, small but mighty. That, in my mind, is Tammy out.
Yoda? Tammy. Yoda? Tammy.
She's tiny but powerful.
Sweet, kind, and short.
It's the only time I've seen Tammy barefoot. She's even shorter.
Apparently I failed to articulate my question clearly. I wasn't asking anything about Tammy being short. I assume that's just some unfortunate consequence of veganism. I was asking for what is Tammy a nickname. Being an IO psychologist, I designed and administered a structured interview of a noted expert, which is to say, I asked Tammy. And here's the beginning and end of our conversation. Hey, Tammy, what is Tammy short? She just slammed her 70s telephone right in my face without a word. This is an outrage. Fine, I'll figure it out myself. I decided to collect some data of my own. I would look at her publications. This has got to work. People go by nicknames, but they publish under their full names. Surely everyone takes the publication process seriously enough to do this. You know, Bob Vandenberg publishes as Robert, Jeff Edwards as Jeffrey, Ron Landis as Ronald. This strategy, admittedly, is not foolproof. Larry Williams is Larry, Mickey Hebel, Joe the Plumber, but most people publish under their given names. So I trusted to luck and grabbed the journal nearest my thumb, which happened to be an issue of Journal of Vocational Behavior, and as luck would have it, Tammy appeared. She appeared 3 times, in fact, as Tammy, Tammy, and Tammy. I grabbed the next issue of JVB, and Tammy, apparently subscribing to the "no one but I is allowed space in journals" model of scholarship, appeared 3 more times as Tammy, Tammy, and Tammy. What about her national award-winning papers? Surely she takes those seriously enough to use her full name. Nah. Tammy, Tammy. Now I just start pulling journals off the shelves. There's got to be a solution to this problem. Tammy, 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 Tammy. Tammy, 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 Tammy. This went on and on and on. My office was a disaster area. What about her books? Maybe the publishers of the books force her to be more formal. No. Tammy, 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 Tammy. Anything, click to add text, I got nothing. 96 articles, 4 books, a gazillion conference presentations, journal mastheads, all sorts of service stuff, all under Tammy D. Hallen. Okay, so I'm out of patience at this point. It's time to start throwing some weight around. So I submitted a... Uh-oh. There we go. I submitted a Freedom of Information Act request for Tammy's birth certificate, and there it is. Interesting side note, Tammy was not born here in Hawaii as she has claimed. She was in fact born in Kenya. Yeah, it's true. KenyanBirthCertificateGenerator.com. Awesome. If you look at the upper right, though, there, the second half of Tammy's first name has been redacted by order of the SIOP president. Wow. I had no idea that Tammy's reach, metaphorically, of course, was that long. Anyway, another dead end. So deduction didn't work. I thought I might try induction. Perhaps I can induce Tammy's name from the impression that she makes on others. Once again, I turn to her students and colleagues for help. Let's try some adjectives and see what comes up.
She's one of the most considerate and supportive colleagues.
She truly makes you feel like you are her only student because she's got your best interest at heart.
She's like a mom. Scary mom.
That she's very approachable, although she is a big name in the field.
So she doesn't want you to think that Tammy helped me achieve this. She just wants you to see it at the end that I did it.
Which is all good and well. However, I did manage to get some audio of Tammy practicing her presidential speech.
In place of a dark lord, you would have a queen! Not dark, but beautiful and terrible as the dawn! Treacherous as the sea! Stronger than the foundations of the earth! All shall love me and despair!
Yeah. For the record, I do not subscribe to Tammy's characterization of Doug Reynolds as a dark lord. All right. Given what we now know, I think we can perhaps begin to cobble together a full name for Tammy. Tempestuous, perhaps temperamental. These are possibilities, but there are others. Tammy has been described as highly scrupulous and ethical.
She's incredibly ethical.
She never does anything halfway.
She's very purposeful and thorough in her research.
I think researchers a lot of times are faced with the decision, what's easy versus what really makes a good contribution, and Tammy will always choose the latter.
The kind of work that she does is meant to make organizations better places to work.
She's very considerate of others.
She has a very clear line of what is acceptable and what isn't. Tammy not only talks the talk, but she walks the walk.
So maybe tamper-resistant Tammy Allen. Okay, that's possible. Tammy has been described by some as dignified, but I can't stomach this one. I don't know how well you can see this. This is a video of a SIOP Executive Board dinner that, on advice of counsel, I'm not going to play, but I would ask for your help in making this go viral on YouTube. In the video, then President-elect Tammy Allen is playing Catch the Blueberry with some reprobate across the table during the dessert course. But I'd like to call your attention to those who are around the table. There's Eden, there's Julie, there's Rogelberg. Apparently, this is such typical Tammy dinner behavior, it doesn't even warrant notice. You can almost see Eden thinking to herself, oh, Tammy's playing, look, Ma, no hands again. Hardly even worth mentioning. But it does give us some other options. Tempura, tamarind glaze, inebriated. These are also some excellent possibilities. And there are others. Tammy has been described as inclusive. She has a lot of stuff going on. She's a powerhouse. And she has a never say die attitude. These are all legitimate possibilities, but who can say for sure? I tried deduction, I tried induction, and I failed. As the saying goes, if the mountain won't come to Muhammad, then I'll just make some stuff up. Henceforth, by order of the soon-to-be SIOP president, the Tammy and Tammy D. Allen shall be short for Tamtastic Tammy Allen. Yeah. Now, I'm going to need your help with this. Whenever you see Tammy at the conference, I want you to say it, and I want you to practice now. Tamtastic. Let's hear it. Tamtastic. Whenever Tammy is presenting in a symposium, I want you to say it. Tamtastic. If you see Tammy at a funeral, say it. Tamtastic. If you see Tammy fleeing the scene of a crime, say it. Tamtastic. I want to hear this ringing through the halls of the conference for the entire time that we are here next year and always. In all seriousness, it's only for a moment, I promise. If you can find anyone that has a bad thing to say about Tammy, I will eat my shirt and paint your house. It has been an honor serving with her this past year. It has been a privilege to see her cool competence and relentless commitment to this organization. And it is a sobering thought that hers is the standard against which I will be judged. Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. That's a nice one. Yeah. All I can hope for is not to be too much of a disappointment in comparison. Please join me in welcoming your 2014 SIOP President, Tammy Allen.
I was afraid I was going to have to go into the witness protection program. Aloha, SIOP. It's great to be here. Over the past several years, SIOP has directed considerable attention toward increasing our visibility. So has everyone seen the new logo and tagline? Do we like it? Jose will introduce a special video at the end of this session that will provide more highlights about the new brand. As Doug Reynolds described in his presidential address last year, the new brand is the result of an enormous amount of testing and effort that spanned multiple presidents, executive boards, and committee chairs. So I want to take a moment to recognize and thank those involved in the most recent task force, with special thanks to Chris Rotolo and Doug. Our brand is intended to connect us with the outside world. You've seen the Connections theme highlighted frequently this year. I came by this theme as a natural extension of the work that we have been doing to increase our visibility and influence. It is through the process of initiating, building, strengthening, and maintaining connections with others that we increase our influence and can better advocate for our science. This morning, I want to begin by discussing visibility and highlighting two initiatives in which all of you can be involved that really bring home the Connections theme. I want to next consider a different form of connection, the connection between our science and other science domains. And I hope you all are in the mood for a little data this morning. I'm going to share with you some initial findings from our Map of Science project and a few thoughts moving into the future. So you may have heard we're number one. Okay. We are the fastest growing occupation. Mention IO, and of course there is the obligatory, what the heck is that? So we did receive a lot of media coverage after being named the number one profession. That's okay, because many of these articles, even though they didn't know right away what IO psychology was, they went on to explain what IO psychology is. Some of you may also recall what I like to refer to as therapist gate from earlier this year. In a profile that appeared in the Washington Post following a science advocacy event we held in DC, we were referred to as government therapists. Now, one surefire way to fire up a bunch of IO psychologists is to refer to us as therapists. This ended up working to our advantage as well because we received even more media coverage when the writer wrote a second article clarifying what IO psychologists do. Last fall, after returning from a trip and going through passport control, the officer asked me, "What do you do?" I replied that I am an industrial organizational psychologist. His response was, "We sure could use some of you guys around here." And then he described how inept management was. So that response said two things to me. One, he knew what an IO psychologist was. There's a pigeon flying through the room. But perhaps more importantly, he recognized the value that an IO psychologist could bring to his organization. Our visibility is increasing, but we have more work to do. As part of the branding initiative, the Visibility Metrics Subcommittee collected data regarding the familiarity that our key stakeholders have with IO. As you see here, a relatively small percentage of individuals are familiar with IO, and the percentages are particularly small among faculty and students. The study also found that the top two most popular channels to learn about IO were, one, the news, so the type of media coverage that we have been receiving can make a difference. The second most popular was having a class related to IO. A third for all samples other than students was simply knowing an IO psychologist. So how can we introduce IO psychology to over 1 million people in the next 10 years? We have a plan for that, and it is the Bridge Builders Initiative. So I'm going to do a little cheerleading here. I hope that every person in the room will get involved. The idea is for each SIOP member to engage in at least one activity this year that involves sharing information about IO psychology by connecting with your local high school, university, or community. The Bridge Builders team has a lot of ideas and resources on how you can do this. There's a booth at the exhibit hall today and tomorrow, so go to the booth, sign the commitment banner, wear the button, you'll get a cool button, and tell your friends about it. A twin initiative is the local IO Groups Network. Over the last year, this team has been fostering the connection between SIOP and local IO groups, both within the US and abroad. One product from their work is a toolkit on how to form and maintain local IO groups that is now available on the SIOP website. So there's a meeting for local group representatives at 4, and anyone interested in starting a local group is welcome to attend. So the key message is that increasing our visibility requires efforts at multiple levels and begins at home. So again, please get involved. Our efforts to become more visible are related to our desire to increase opportunities for our members and to make an impact. This morning, I want to talk about impact and visibility in a way that I think is different from the usual conversation. When we discuss impact, it's commonly addressed from an applied perspective. Are we visible to the business community, and decision makers within organizations? Are we conducting research that helps to bridge science and practice? Those are important questions, and we need to continue to do the work that ensures the answer is yes. However, another question is, what is the impact of our research on science? What science domains are drawing from our work? Are we visible to other areas of science? Through an analysis and visualization of our science, we should be able to identify patterns and better understand where our influence lies. A tool for doing such work is scientometrics. Scientometrics is the study of measuring and analyzing science research, which includes citation analyses. Citations serve as a common barometer of scientific impact. So we've been conducting a scientometric study this year, referred to as the Science Mapping Project. To center the study on IO, we identified 20 journals in which IO psychology research is published. Now, we could argue about this list, but these are the journals that underlie the data. To conduct the study, each article published in these 20 journals was extracted, as were the backward and forward citations. So to try and give you a clear understanding of how this works, here's an example from a single article published by our incoming president in 2011. This 2011 article cited 42 articles. Those are backward citations. This article has been cited since being published by 7 other articles. Those are the forward citations. And you can see that Jose was cited by his sister, which is really sweet, right? Who became a fellow this morning, too, yeah. So those are the forward citations. Each citing article can be categorized then into one or more scientific domains. So I don't want to bore you with too many of the technical details, but here are a few key numbers because we're really dealing with some big data here. The citations also begin in 1917. Does anyone know why 1917? That's right. That was the first year that Journal of Applied Psychology began being published. Now, we have a total of 6 different visualization maps. So this is a snapshot of when you go to the main online website. There's a set that connects IO with all other science domains, a second set that breaks IO out from the rest of psychology across all science domains, and a third set that looks at the connection between IO and other areas of psychology. And here's a snapshot of the map, honing in on the year 2010, showing citations from IO to all science domains. So that number in the middle shows the total number of forward citations from articles published in 2010 from our 20 IO journals. Those citations are distributed across one or more science domains and appear in order of proportion from left to right. So you can see here that we are primarily cited by psychology, followed by management, and then business. So Larry, let's see if we can go live. I'm going to try and show you the map in action. So you see it's dynamic. It shows across time the different citations. If you hover over the specific domains, it will show you exactly how many citations came from each of those science domains. There are different features, so it's interactive with the user. You can go exactly to a different year with the slider down at the bottom. You can change the speed, and so on. And actually, we don't want to do this, but if you click on the slice, it will also show you the specific journals that those citations come from as well. Okay? So there is a lot of information here. What I have done to begin to summarize some of the trends across time is create some figures based on specific time periods. So what I'm showing you here first is the relative contributions of citations coming to and from psychology, management, and business across all science. What this data helps show is that with regard to the literature that we are citing, we remain primarily rooted in psychology, but we are increasingly drawing from management and business. What has markedly changed is the trend with regard to forward citations. Across time, our science is contributing less to psychology and more to management and business. This next graph summarizes citation trends from and to science domains other than psychology, management, and business. The first thing to notice is that the percentages are rather small across the board, underscoring the insularity of our science. We are not connecting very frequently to science domains outside of psychology, management, and business. And although there appears to be a substantial increase in forward citations in 2010, if you look at 2009 and 11, those numbers are closer to 1990, so there's been no real growth. One more data slide is how IO is connecting with other areas within psychology across time. And IO is referenced as applied here. You can see that in terms of backward citations, we generally cite from our own literature. The next highest values come from multidisciplinary psychology and from social psychology, which has been increasing. With regard to forward citations, and I think this is really important, there is a pronounced trend indicating we are increasingly being primarily cited only by ourselves. So these are some of the initial patterns from the project. In the future, these maps will be hosted on the SIOP website, and all of the raw data will be available to anyone. So a very quick thank you to Innovacer, the company we work with to mine and visualize the data, and to the SIOP Foundation and the SIOP members who contributed toward the financial support of the project. So these data give us a lot to think about in terms of the future of our science and our grounding in psychology. One of the key questions that emerges is, why does IO research have limited scientific impact outside of IO and management? Well, there are several potential causes. It could be that what we are publishing has little perceived value beyond ourselves. It could be that what we are publishing would be perceived as valuable, but we have not communicated it or found ways to make it visible to others. We need to address both possibilities. So next are some thoughts on some ways we can continue or begin to either directly or indirectly increase the visibility and value of our science. First, we need to continue to build our science advocacy efforts internally and externally. Science advocacy has been one of our strategic objectives since they were formulated in 2006. It has been difficult, however, to gain traction in that arena. This graphic shows some of the key milestones. There have been two key turning points. The first was the task force report chaired by Steve Kozlowski. The recommendations issued in that report have been instrumental to our current efforts. The second was the hiring of government relations firm Lewis Burke in 2013. Our work with Lewis Burke is helping to shape our advocacy agenda and increase our visibility with policymakers and government officials. Here's just a sampling of the activities that have occurred since July. And one especially amazing thing that Lewis Burke has done is get Jose in a suit. So if you can see him there. April Burke, who is the president and founder of Lewis Burke, is here at the conference. So today there are several informal opportunities to meet with April and members of the SIOP advocacy team. We are also developing our internal infrastructure. These efforts include the creation of opportunities to strengthen the scientific capabilities of our members. For example, at the conference, we are holding our first science funding speed mentoring event. Right or wrong, funded science is perceived as important science and helps to connect us with other science domains. By increasing our science funding and advocacy, we increase both the visibility and the perceived value of our research. The second is to increase recognition of and support of IO psychology in psychology departments. There are two channels I propose this morning. The first is through education, and the second is through endowments. The importance of our science is communicated through what is taught. Here's an email that I received just a few weeks ago from a colleague in a psychology department. And I'm not naming names, but if you buy me a drink at the bar, I'll tell you. When IO Psych is not included in Intro to Psych, the message is that we are not important. Recall from the metrics study that students were the least likely group to be familiar with IO, and that one of the best channels for familiarizing students, or for familiarizing people with IO, was through course-related material. One commitment that you can make is to do what you can to see that IO is included in psychology courses. So I tie this back to the Bridge Builders Initiative. This can be a commitment. Second, the importance of our science and our grounding in psychology is communicated through what is financially supported. We are all aware that many IOs choose to work in business schools. This no doubt is a factor in the citation trends observed earlier. It is also no secret that a primary driver of that move is that business schools pay higher salaries than psych departments. So why not make an effort to endow more chairs in IO psychology? Endowed psychology professorships can be used to attract, reward, and retain the best faculty in IO. Now, on the surface, this may seem like an issue just for the academics, but when you consider that IO practitioners are trained in psychology and not business, the significance to practice becomes clear. Bill Byam, the president and founder of DDI, has generously endowed 2 professorships in IO. I asked Bill if he would comment on his motivation for creating these endowments, and here's what he said. I did this to pay back to IO for the wonderful life that it has provided me and my family. I'm disappointed that we have not increased the output of IO psychologists, particularly those interested in working in a business environment. It is my hope that my chairs will go a small way toward increasing the number of IO psychologists in general, and particularly those interested in working outside academia. Minnesota has been successful in securing several endowments for their IO faculty, including one initiated by the students of Marv Donnett. As stated by Paul Sackett, in Minnesota, we view endowed positions as essential, not sure we could successfully recruit without them. Endowed professorships keep top scholars in psych, signal our relevance to others, and help ensure the continued training of IO psychologists for careers outside of university settings. The third is to broaden the way that we view impact. It was my goal that the science mapping project would be used to start conversation about how IO science is connected to and is contributing to the broader discipline of psychology and to other domains of science. The question now is, where do we want to take the field? Undeniably, one of the key strengths of our profession is the impact we have on organizations. Our research and practice has contributed significantly toward enhancing the quality of work life for employees. Similarly, for organizations, we improve the results and effectiveness in a multitude of ways. However, by evaluating and valuing our impact along these lines, we may have inadvertently boxed ourselves into a relatively narrow line of thinking, research, and practice. So often we ask ourselves, as academics or practitioners, the so what question. And more often than not, implied or directly stated, the so what question is focused on the effects or applicability of our work to organizations and the bottom line. And perhaps as a result of this kind of narrow thinking, our attention becomes focused internally, and we become consumed with psychology versus management, science versus practice. Is it any wonder then why so few outside of those directly engaged in our profession know what we do? Now, I'm not suggesting that we abandon practical application as a context for our science. Rather, I'm proposing a shift in the conversation about impact. A reconsideration, an expansion, if you will, of how we see ourselves impacting the psychology of work. For example, could we accept as worthy of our attention IO research that endeavors to understand not only the impact of work on employee outcomes, but the impact of employees' work on family outcomes? Could research be considered impactful whose main goal is to increase our understanding of the human condition at work without any clear or immediate notion of how results can be applied to the work setting? As Weiss and Rupp have described it, a more person-centric work psychology. Could we endeavor to understand the work experiences of individuals on the periphery of society and outside of organizations, such as migrant farm workers? By broadening our scope and forming a more in-depth understanding of the individual at work, we then open up more opportunities to increase our connection with other areas of psychology and other sciences. We then increase our reach to and impact on society in general. As we become less parochial, people will know what we do, how we do it, and how our science and practice, what our science and practice can do for them. So before closing, I want to lighten up in the last few minutes and say thanks to some of the important connections that have made a difference in my life. Like many of you, I didn't hear about IO in my intro psych courses. I stumbled my way into an intro to IO class taught by Ron Riggio. I'm a first-generation college student, and the thought of going to graduate school had never occurred to me. Mentoring really does make a difference. Thank you, Ron. At the University of Tennessee, I was fortunate to be mentored by a group of fantastic faculty. I learned something unique and valuable from all of them. Joyce, thank you for your role modeling and continued friendship. Larry, I am grateful that I learned stats from the very best. During first-year orientation, one of the things that Mike Rush said in between scaring the hell out of all of us was, look around you. Your fellow graduate students are going to become some of your best friends for life. As usual, Mike was right. I even married one. And I also met my best girlfriend, peer mentor, and research wife for life, Lillian Evie. I've been part of a great group of folks at USF since 1996. Here we go. And I want to especially thank Wally Borman, who's been a fantastic source of support and trusted advisor. And Russ Johnson, we still miss you. That's Russ. Thanks to each of the outstanding graduate students that I've worked with over the past 17 years. I love you guys. And the membership has been served by an outstanding executive board this year, as well as by many of the committee chairs that you do not see pictured here. I also have to thank Gary, Kurt, and Lisa for your support and encouragement throughout the year. And of course, the man that holds everything together is our executive director, Dave Nursey. I'm blessed this morning to have the two most important people in my life here. My fascinating practitioner husband, Mark Poteet, who's been a genuine partner in all aspects of life and truly the wind beneath my wings. Thank you, honey, for all those trifectas this year. My extraordinary son, Ethan Sitfer, who graduated from college last May, and naturally having two IU psychologists as parents, decided to become an architect. Being your mom is my ultimate joy, Ethan. It's been a pleasure to serve you as president this year and to play a part in our collective endeavor to advance the science and practice of IO psychology. I have been amazed at the level of activity that occurs within SIOP. We have an outstanding organization that's filled with generous people who give their time generously all year long. Together, we can continue to do the research that is rich and meaningful and apply that research in ways that improve the human condition at all levels. Enjoy the conference.
That was Tamtastic. Thank you, Tammy. I'm now pleased to recognize our newly elected members of the Executive Board. I'd like you to stand and do something embarrassing when I call your name. Elected to serve as Communications Officer, Alex Alonso. There he is. Elected to serve as Research and Science Officer, Fred Oswald. Hey. Elected to serve as Conferences and Programs Officer, Evan Sinar. And your President-elect, whom I would remind that just as he has 25 years of dirt on me, so do I have 25 years of dirt on him, Steve Kozlowski. I'd like our executive board members and our committee chairs, wherever you are, to please stand. They give countless hours of their time for the good of this organization. You have to stand, I'm not kidding. Let's give them all a round of applause. I also want to remind everyone about our upcoming Leading Edge Consortium. It'll be held October 17 and 18 at the Intercontinental Chicago O'Hare. This is our 10th annual consortium, and this year's topic is Succession Strategies, Building Your Leadership Bench. Despite significant time on high potential development and succession management processes, only 28% of current leaders were pre-identified in a succession plan, and only 25% of organizations report that they have the leadership bench that they need, making succession management a central concern of today's boards. The planning committee for this event consists of Chair Elaine Palakos, Alexis Fink, Alberto Galue, Arlene Green, Eric Braverman, Paul Yost, and Will Shepard. As it happens, I had dinner with Elaine a couple of weeks ago, and she was so excited about the LAC, she said she might be willing to chair it again. I have witnesses. And if Elaine finds the LAC that exciting, then I think we should be in for quite a show. Also, it's not too early to begin thinking about our 30th annual conference, which will take place in Philadelphia in April. The planning is already in the works, and it's sure to be another successful and popular meeting. We hope to see all of you there and hope that you will help us to shame anyone who isn't here this year into going next year. But we are here for the 2014 conference. At this time, I would like to recall to the stage the great Robin Cohen-Reisenstein for some brief comments.
He doesn't like my married name. Thank you, Jose. Although I am sure that you've all read about what's in store for you, I'd like to take just a few minutes to point out some of the highlights of the conference. If you haven't already, take a look at SIOP's mobile planner. Through this site, you can access the conference program and create your own schedule with the one that you created on SIOP.org. The address is m.siop.conference.siop.org. You can also find continuing coverage of the conference throughout the week on SIOP's Facebook and Twitter. Find out more at www.siop.org/social media. We have an incredible and diverse lineup of peer-reviewed sessions submitted by you, our members, as well as some special invited addresses and a great theme track. You can only imagine how much hard work, perseverance, patience, and energy it takes to put the program together. Your program chair this year was Evan Sinar. Evan, past program chair Eden King, and incoming program chair Kristen Shockley have volunteered their time to coordinate a great program for us. Will all three of you please stand? And lastly, I would like to welcome back our president-elect, Jose Cortina, back to the stage for a very brief announcement.
Thank you, Robin. By now, I hope you've heard that SIOP has unveiled a new brand. It's been a goal of SIOP for more than a decade and culminates 2 years of concentrated effort. It comes about as the result of thousands of hours of brainstorming and discussion and market testing by many SIOP volunteer leaders and staff members. For myself, I don't usually get all that excited about labeling, but I'm excited about this. Let's take a look at this project and the benefits that it will bring to the society and to our field.
It's been a long time coming. 16 task force members, 3 subcommittees, input from 312 SIOP members and 527 non-members, 515 logo drafts, 82 taglines, 1 tagline expert, 10 initial value propositions, 2 branding consultants, 4 executive board reviews, 2 years of effort, and more than a decade of discussion. Now is the time. SIOP is pleased to announce its new brand. Our new brand is not just about changing the way we look. This initiative is an all-encompassing strategy to build the SIOP brand and the broader IO brand by association. We will accomplish this as we conceptualize new, integrated strategies that promote our unique science, build strong partnerships with our peers, communicate with the media, increase our advocacy efforts, and educate future IO psychologists. Our brand presents an image of who we are and who we want to be. It will help SIOP lead the field of IO psychology into a more influential and visible position in society, while facilitating opportunities for growth and collaboration for our members. To be authentic and effective, a brand must be representative of how we operate, both as a society and as professionals. In that sense, the articulation of our brand will help us improve our visibility and expand our influence, and also guide our mission and strategy in the future as we strive to reinforce key messages with our actions. This is a brand that unites IO psychologists in all settings. This is your brand, a brand that more clearly and professionally represents our leading research and expertise to our stakeholders, and helps IO psychologists make a more positive impact on their organizations, communities, and the world. The future is bright for SIOP and IO. Find out more at siop.org/brand.
Related to the branding initiative, I want to strongly encourage you to come to the closing plenary session. We are in for a very unique presentation by Jeff Colon that is tied to this initiative. Jeff is Group Marketing Manager at Microsoft, is a strategic digital leader, design thinker, mobile content creator, and social media influencer. You're in for a real treat. I have some special announcements. The break is next door in the exhibit hall, which is Ballroom B. It starts immediately after the plenary. The world's largest Aloha shirt is on display it's like 400x. And there's a commemorative surfboard, so everybody should go and sign the surfboard. So I wish you a very happy and Aloha Spirit conference.